I don't even know. Today's Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. Hi. Okay. It took me a minute, but I went live and then I was like, is today Tuesday? I don't even know. I'm not even for sure what day it is. So, and it struck me that I didn't see any of the usual messages I normally see on Tuesday in the Discord. And then I was like, maybe it's not Tuesday. Maybe it's not. I count on you guys to tell me what day it is. Because if you don't mention it, I maybe won't know that it's Tuesday. This light is off. Is it? Is it off? It's fine. Okay. It does feel early. I think that's also a thing. It's not as dark out. And it's also making me think that now is not the right time to be here. But the usual message. I may have missed it. I don't know. I've also been kind of clued out today. There's some stuff happening. I'll go over it in a bit. Yes, that's an eyeball. I switched the lights out. I still have the other lights. They're over there. I swapped them because this one didn't seem as like glary in the background. So, and I thought it looked cool. It is the correct time. Yeah, it does feel like we should have another hour. It feels early. I just ate like a sandwich and it felt like the wrong time to eat a sandwich. I don't even know. Why? Thanks for the, what was that? Don't do it again. No, it's fine. Hat and mustache. Okay, it says it in the description. Alright, I believe you. You had to. We got it over with. Thank you for the compliments on the eye. These were old Halloween decorations that Dave Jerry rigged up with some different strip LED lights inside. So now instead of just like it used to just be, it had one color and you plugged it in and that's all. And then that light went out and it was really cheap. So Dave put in strip LED lights. So now you can make it any color you want. I just think it's cool. I'm going to leave it on purple. I wasn't going to do it while reading, so you can still post it. Okay. That's fine. I'm not going to edit it anyway. The whole thing's going to go up. Yeah, Dave's catchphrase is, I can put lights in that. And he can. And so he did. And now I have a glow up eyeball, and it changes in any color I wanted to. I really like it. And I was like, I like that better. It shows up better on camera. I'm going to put that there, and then I move the other ones over there. So the platforms are over there, the little hexagon platforms. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of bad news, but bear with me. I think it'll be worth it. It's going to be a lot shorter today. Mainly because the way the chapters link together, a lot of the chapters in this book run a little long. Except for, like, every one in the odd one. Every once in a while there's an odd, short, normal-sized children's book chapter. Like today. But it's followed by a 25-page chapter. For the record, any chapter under 30 I can safely get under in 2 hours. But the preceding chapter was 27 pages, so it couldn't go with that, and it can't really fit super comfortably in with the chapter that comes after. So we just have an 11-page chapter and an intermission that's like 2 pages. So it's like 13 pages long, which is not long. I'm actually probably not going to take an intermission. I'm just going to blaze straight on through it. But we do have a little bit of a surprise getting here sometime. Sometime today. And I feel like you will like that. And you wouldn't be as bummed that we had a short chapter. And that surprise could be getting here at any point. I'm not sure if it'll happen before we start, or while we're reading, or after. Unsure, actually. But there will be a surprise happening. So just trust me. It's not a notey surprise. It's not a notey surprise. I wish it were a notey surprise. It'd be really cool if notey could text me back. I get that they're busy though, so I'm not going to hold that against them. Also, I routinely don't text back, so I can't. I would like to see notey though. Every once in a while, if it weren't for the fact that they update their Instagram story once a day, I would be worried that they had died, and I would have done a welfare check by now. If you think of him as like a weekly surprise, he's here weekly. He's part of it, the process now. I almost don't feel right going live without Dad here. Makes it feel wrong. Like, it makes it feel like a part of the process is missing. So no, Dad should be here. Dad's here. Like, Dad's here. Dad's here through the whole thing. And then Dad also, plays the games with us afterwards. So he's not like a surprise. He's like a weekly installment. He's part of it now. He's part of the crew. He has to be here for things to run. He's like the producer, if I'm being real honest. It's like the producer of game night. Like, so... No, he's not physically in the room with me right now. That's not what's happening. Legitimately, the surprise isn't here yet, but the surprise is supposed to be here. I'm just gonna hug this cat for support. Anyway, but I know it's shorter, but just trust me. Just trust me. And I'm sure we'll all have a real fun time. So, is it a cat? No, I wish it was. Unless you mean this boy. He hasn't been featured in a while, but he's still here. All the cats are still here. They're arranged very comfortably in their own little weird cat animal pile next to me. Anytime you want to see the cat mountain, they're still here. They keep me company every day. I keep them on a safe rotation, so none of them feel neglected. This is the cat. This is the cat I'm with right now. Okay. Do I donate blood? It depends on where and who I'm donating it to. Oh, you mean to the Red Cross? That would make more sense than what I thought. I have before, not recently. Pond is also a weekly installment. Yeah, Pond will probably waltz on in here screaming at some point, you know. It's a good cat. Okay, sorry, I'm muffling the mic. Cat snuggle ASMR. Would I donate again? Sure, if they don't cause me to bruise up again, that'd be really cool. There have been a couple people I know who have incidents with that. Pond is the cutest installment. Pond is the best installment, some would say. This is really Pond's channel. I just bogart it to read a book for a couple hours. So if you really need someone to really prop up this channel, it's Pond. Pond is definitely the linchpin of the content. Now, really, it's the cosplay. I just haven't cosplayed in so long. I gotta get my shit together. I gotta rearrange some stuff to film some things, which I have some things I want to get for a cosplay that I don't technically need, but I want them and I'm gonna get them. I was working on that today, and then I finished styling the Psyche K wig, so I can get some Psyche K done. Possibly next week, I don't know, because I got the cosplay, the uniform cosplay, and it does not fit. And I'm kind of bummed out about that, because I looked up the measurements specifically, and it did not fit, and I'm pretty bummed. So, but I do have, I did make a sweater specifically for Psyche, the purple one that he wears, so I have that, so I'll probably end up doing it anyway. Before I get the actual cosplay. Oh, God. Okay, sorry. I got really dizzy there for a second. I'm unsure what's going on. Just got like a weird vertigo sort of thing. It felt like I was falling. I don't know what happened. Oh, the Lloyd suit. I'm getting a suit specifically instead of a cosplay suit. Because that's the problem that I run in with cosplay stuff. Is most of it is, you know, like shipped overseas. If it's cheaper, the sizing isn't always correct. And two, all the sizing runs really small on a lot of cosplay stuff anyway. And so I was like, I'm just going to get a suit. Then I can just wear it. It's not a cosplay. That's just a fit, is what it is. So I'm just going to get a suit if I can find a suit in the right color. But I've been working on Lloyd Forger for a while. But I got Psyche's wig finished, and I've been working on Deckham's wig. And I want to get some other thing, and I have to move some stuff around to do that. But I plan on it, and it's fun. We can go looking tomorrow before you rest. I am not sure that we can. One, I do have therapy tomorrow. Two, I would love to do that. But, and here's the thing, is I'm running into repeated car issues again. So, I hope my car starts tomorrow. I was going to try and look into trying to fix it again, because I should have replaced the serpentine belt when I was in there. I did not. And I didn't have the money to fiddle around with my car yesterday, because I had money to pay for the stuff to fix the car, or I had the money to pay the car payment for the car. So I paid the car payment because I didn't want to get a late fee. So that's what I did with the money. But my check didn't pop until today. So now I have money to fix the thing. And not the time to fix the thing. But I better get it figured out before next week, because I gotta go out of town. Transmission issues. I hope that gets fixed. Transmission is not the best to go wrong. So I am sorry you're experiencing that. Transmission is terrible. I don't want to replace my transmission. I'm glad, you know what? Now I feel a little bit better. At least I don't have transmission issues. So I'm pretty happy about that. We're gonna get into it if you guys are ready. Had to get in. Brake pads aren't too bad. Brake pads are pretty easy. I'll say that. You're gonna replace the brake pads. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone. I'm keeping an eye on the time to see some stuff. Anyway. We're going to go ahead and knock this out. It's going to be Chapter 7 and the intermission beginning of Part 2. So you kind of get ahead of where we're at. And then hopefully the surprise will be here. Imported brake pads. Lame. Okay. Two, ready to go. Okay. If you don't know what we're doing, also, if you're in here and you have no idea what's going on, quick thing, I don't just talk to people because that's not my game. I just read to people. I like reading to people, and reading to people's fun for me. And, yeah, we're reading Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, Book 2, The Hollow City, and we're about halfway through it now, so you've missed a lot, and you probably won't know what's going on, but it's kind of okay, because I have a YouTube channel, and if you go to my TikTok, you'll find the link, and then you can, they're in playlist in order, so you can go and listen to all of it and come back, and then by the time you're done with that, this lab will be over, so then you'll have to wait until I upload that. And then I also have to get chapters 5 and 6 uploaded. Chapter 5 is finished and edited. I have to upload that. It's just sitting on my computer. I should have uploaded it when I finished it. And didn't. And you know what? Sometimes that's how life goes. So, I'm going to get it uploaded. It's literally, that's all I have to do. Is upload it to YouTube. I don't know why I finished it and didn't. But anyway, I think I was frustrated. I'll upload that as soon as I can. And to my knowledge, there are no issues with Chapter 6, but a lot of the time, I'm not going to know there's corruption issues until I go to upload it. So, we'll see, and hopefully I don't have to re-record 6, too. But last time we were with these crazy kids, they got captured by soldiers trying to board a train to London so they could get help from another Imbrin to rescue their Imbrin that's stuck in bird form. And they were helped along the way by a traveling caravan of Romani who helped them get to the train station after finding out that they were peculiar. Unfortunately, after they were captured by soldiers, they realized that a couple of the Romani men who had helped them had also been taken captive. There was some hurt feelings, perhaps, but they ended up getting away, and Hugh rescued everybody with a field full of bees. So we're all very proud of Hugh. And now we are well on our way to London, and the kids seem to be doing pretty all right. So that's where we left off, in case you missed it. Bees. Hugh, the god of bees. I blame Dimension 20. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. More terrible dreams, all mixed up, fading in and out of one another. Snippets of horrors from recent days, the steel eye of a gun barrel staring me down from close range, a road strewn with fallen horses, a hollow gas tongue straining towards me across a chasm, that awful grinning white in his empty eyes. Then this. I'm back home again, but I'm a ghost. I drift down my street, through my front door, into my house. I find my father asleep at the kitchen table, a cordless phone clutched to his chest. I'm not dead, I say, but my words don't make a sound. I find my mother sitting on the edge of her bed, still in night clothes, staring out the window at a pale afternoon. She's gaunt, wrung out from crying. I reach out to touch her shoulder, but my hand passes right through it. Then I'm at my own funeral, looking up from my grave at a rectangle of gray sky. My 3 uncles peer down, their fat necks bulging from starched white collars. Uncle Les. What a pity, right? Uncle Jack. You really got a feel for Frank and Mary Ann right now. Uncle Les. Yeah, what are people going to think? Uncle Bobby. They'll think the kid had a screw loose, which he did. Uncle Jack. I knew it, though, that he'd pull something like this one day. He had that look, just a little. Uncle Bobby. Screwy. Uncle Les. That comes from his dad's side of the family, not ours. Uncle Jack. Still terrible. Uncle Bobby. Yeah. Buffet? My uncles shuffle away. Ricky comes along, his green hair extra spiked for the occasion. Bro, now that you're dead, can I have your bike? I try to shout. I'm not dead. I'm just far away. I'm sorry. But the words echo back at me, trapped inside my head. The minister peers down. It's Golan, holding a Bible, dressed in robes. He grins. We're waiting for you, Jacob. A shovel full of dirt rains down on me. We're waiting. I bolted upright, suddenly awake, my mouth dry as paper. Emma was next to me, hands on my shoulders. Jacob, thank God. You gave us a scare. I did? You were having a nightmare, said Millard. He was seated across from us, looking like an empty suit of clothes starched onto position. Talking in your sleep, too. I was? Emma dabbed sweat from my forehead with one of the first-class napkins, real cloth. You were, she said, but it sounded like gobbledygook. I couldn't understand a word. I looked around self-consciously, but no one else seemed to have noticed. The other children were spread throughout the car, catnapping, daydreaming out the window, or playing cards. I sincerely hoped I was not starting to lose it. Do you often have nightmares? Asked Millard. You should describe them to Horace. He's good at sussing hidden meanings from dreams. Emma rubbed my arm. You sure you're all right? I'm fine, I said, and because I don't like being fussed over, I changed the subject. Seeing that Millard had the Tales of the Peculiar open in his lap, I said, Doing some light reading? Studying, he replied. And to think I once dismissed these as just stories for children. They are, in fact, extraordinarily complex, cunning even in the way they conceal secret information about peculiardom. It would take me years, probably, to decode them all. But what good is that to us now? Emma said. What good are loops if they can be breached by hologast? Even the secret ones in that book will be found out eventually. Maybe it was just the one loop that was breached, I said hopefully. Maybe the hollow in Miss Wren's loop was a freak somehow. A peculiar hollow, said Millard. That's amusing, but no, he was no accident. I'm certain these enhanced hollows were an integral part of the assault on our loops. But how? Said Emma. What's changed about hollows that they can get into loops now? That's something I've been thinking about a great deal, said Millard. We don't know a lot about hollows, having never had the chance to examine one in a controlled setting. But it's thought that, like normals, they lack something which you and I, and everyone in this train car possesses, some essential peculiarness, which is what allows us to interact with loops, to bind with and be absorbed into them. Like a key, I said. Something like that, said Millard. Some believe that, like blood or spinal fluid, our peculiarness has physical substance. Others think it's inside us, but insubstantial. A second soul. Huh, I said. I like this idea. That peculiarness wasn't a deficiency, but an abundance. That it wasn't we who lacked something normals had, but they who lacked peculiarness. That we were more, not less. I hate all that crackpot stuff, said Emma. The idea that you could capture the second soul in a jar gives me the quivers. And yet, over the years, some attempts have been made to do just this, said Millard. What did that white soldier say to you, Emma? I wish I could bottle what you have, or something to that effect. Emma shuddered. Don't remind me. The theory goes that if somehow our peculiar essence could be distilled and captured in a bottle, as he said, or more likely a petri dish, then perhaps that essence could also be transferred from one being to another. If this were possible, imagine the black market and peculiar souls that might spring up among the wealthy and unscrupulous. Peculiarities like your spark or Bronwyn's great strength sold to the highest bidder. That's disgusting, I said. Most peculiars agree with you, said Millard, which is why such research was outlawed many years ago. As if the whites cared about our laws, said Emma. But the whole idea seems crazy, I said. It couldn't really work, could it? I don't think so, said Millard. At least not until yesterday. Now, I'm not so sure. Because of the hollow in the menagerie loop. Right. Before yesterday, I wasn't even certain. I believed in a second soul. To my mind, there was only one compelling argument for its existence. That when a holocaust consumes enough of us, it transforms into a different sort of creature. One that can travel through time loops. It becomes a white, I said. Yes, he said, but only if it consumes peculiars. It can eat as many normals as it likes, and it will never turn into a white. Therefore, we must have something normals lack. But that hollow at the menagerie didn't become a white, said Emma. It became a hollow that could enter loops. Which makes me wonder if the whites have been tinkering with nature, said Millard, vis-a-vis the transference of peculiar souls. I don't even want to think about it, said Emma. Can we please talk about something else? But where would they even get the souls? I asked. And how? That's it. I'm sitting somewhere else, Emma said, and she got up to find another seat. Millard and I rode in silence for a while. I couldn't stop imagining being strapped to a table with a cabal of evil doctors removed my soul. How would they do it? With a needle? With a knife? To derail this morbid train of thought, I tried changing the subject again. How did we all get to be peculiar in the first place? I asked. No one's certain, Millard answered. There are legends, though. Like what? Some people believe we're descended from a handful of peculiars who lived a long, long time ago, he said. They were very powerful and enormous, like the stone giant we found. I said, why are we so small then, if we used to be giants? The story goes that over the years, as we multiplied, our powers diluted. As we became less powerful, we got smaller too. That's all pretty hard to swallow, I said. I feel about as powerful as an ant. Ants are quite powerful, actually, relative to their size. You know what I mean, I said. The thing I really don't get is, why me? I never asked to be this way. Who decided? It was a rhetorical question. I wasn't really expecting an answer, but Millard gave me one anyway. To quote a famous peculiar, at the heart of nature's mystery lies another mystery. Who said that? We know him as Perplexus Anomalus, an invented name, probably. For a great thinker and philosopher, Perplexus was a cartographer, too. He drew the very first edition of the Map of Days 1,000-something years ago. I chuckled. You talk like a teacher sometimes. Has anyone ever told you that? All the time, Millard said. I would have liked to try my hand at teaching. If I hadn't been born like this. You would have been great at it. Thank you, he said. Then he went quiet, and in the silence I could feel him dreaming it. Scenes from a life that might have been. After a while, he said, I don't want you to think that I don't like being invisible. I do. I love being peculiar, Jacob. It's the very core of who I am, but there are days I wish I could turn it off. I know what you mean, I said, but of course, I didn't. My peculiarity had its challenges, but at least I could participate in society. The door to our compartment slid open. Millard quickly flipped up the hood of his jacket to hide his face, or rather, his apparent lack of one. A young woman stood in the door. She wore a uniform and held a box of goods for sale. Cigarettes? She said. Chocolate? No, thanks, I said. She looked at me. You're an American. Afraid so. She gave me a pitying smile. Hope you're having a nice trip. You picked an awkward time to visit Britain. I laughed. So I've been told. She went out. Millard shifted his body to watch her go. Pretty, he said distantly. It occurred to me that it had probably been a lot of years since he'd seen a girl outside of those few who lived on Cairnholm. But what chance would someone like him have with a normal girl anyway? Don't look at me like that, he said. It hadn't occurred to me that I'd been looking at him any particular way. Like what? Like you feel bad for me. I don't, I said. But I did. Then Millard stood up from his seat, took off his coat, and disappeared. I didn't see him again for a while. The hours rolled on, and the children passed them by, telling stories. They told stories about famous peculiars and about Miss Peregrine in the strange, exciting early days of her loop, and eventually they came around to telling their own stories. Some I had heard before, like how Enoch had raised the dead in his father's funeral parlor, or the way Bronwyn, at the tender age of 10, had snapped her abusive stepfather's neck without quite meaning to, but others were new to me. For as old as they were, the kids didn't often lapse into bouts of nostalgia. Horace's dreams had started when he was just 6, but he didn't realize they were predictive of anything until 2 years later, when one night he dreamed about the sinking of the Lusitania, and the next day heard about it on the radio. Hugh, from a young age, had loved honey more than any other food, and at 5 he'd started eating honeycomb along with it, so ravenously that the first time he accidentally swallowed a bee, he didn't notice until he felt it buzzing around in his stomach. "Bee didn't seem to mind a bit," Hugh said, so I shrugged and went on eating. Pretty soon I had a whole hive down there. When the bees needed to pollinate, he'd gone to find a field of blooming flowers, and that's where he met Fiona, who was sleeping among them. Hugh told her story, too. Fiona was a refugee from Ireland, he said, where she had been growing food for the people in her village during the famine of the 1840s, until she was accused of being a witch and chased out. This is something Hugh had gleaned over after years of subtle, nonverbal communication with Fiona, who didn't speak, not because she couldn't, Hugh said, but because the things she'd witnessed in the famine were so horrific they stole her voice away. Then it was Emma's turn, but she had no interest in telling her story. "Why not?" whined Olive. "Come on, tell about when you found out you were peculiar." "It's ancient history," Emma muttered. "Relevant to nothing. And hadn't we better be thinking about the future instead of the past?" "Someone's being a grumplepuss," said Olive. Emma got up and left, heading to the back of the car where no one would bother her. I let a minute or two pass so that she wouldn't feel hounded, then went and sat next to her. She saw me coming and hid behind a newspaper, pretending to read. "Because I don't care to discuss it," she said from behind the paper. "That's why." "I didn't say anything." "Yes, but you were going to ask, so I saved you the trouble." "Just to make it fair," I said, "I'll tell you something about me first." She peeked over the top of the paper, slightly intrigued. "But don't I know everything about you already?" "Huh," I said, "not hardly." "All right. Then tell me 3 things about you I don't know. Dark secrets only, please, quickly now." I racked my brain for interesting factoids about myself, but I could only think of embarrassing ones. Okay, one. When I was little, I was really sensitive to seeing violence on TV. I didn't understand that it wasn't real. Even if it was just like a cartoon mouse punching a cartoon cat, I would freak out and start crying. Her newspaper came down some. "Bless your tender soul," she said. "And now look at you. Impaling monstrous creatures right through their leaky eyeballs." 2, I said. I was born on Halloween, and until I was 8 years old, my parents had me convinced that the candy people gave out when I knocked on their doors was birthday presents. She said, lowering the paper a little more. "That one was only middling dark. You may continue, nevertheless." 3, when we first met, I was convinced you were about to cut my throat. But scared as I was, there was this tiny voice in my head saying, "If this is the last face you ever see, at least it's a beautiful one." The paper fell to her lap. "Jacob, that's..." She looked at the floor, then out the window, and then back at me. "What a sweet thing to say." "It's true," I said, and I slid my hand across the seat to hers. "Okay, your turn." I'm not trying to hide anything, you know. It's just that those stories make me feel 10 years old again and unwanted. That never goes away, no matter how many magical summer days have come between. That hurt was still with her, raw even after all these years later. I want to know you, I said. Who you are and where you come from. That's all. She shifted uncomfortably. I never told you about my parents. All I know I heard from Golan that night in the ice house. He said they gave you away to a traveling circus? No, not quite. She slid down in her seat, her voice falling to a whisper. I suppose it's better for you to know the truth than rumors and speculation, so here goes. I started manifesting when I was just 10. Kept setting my bed on fire in my sleep until my parents took away all my sheets and made me lie on a bare metal cot in a bare room with nothing flammable at all in it. They thought I was a pyromaniac and a liar, and the fact that I myself never seemed to get burned was as good as proof. But I couldn't be burned, something even I didn't know at first. I was 10. I didn't know fig about anything. It's a very scary thing, manifesting without understanding what's happening to you. Though it's a fright nearly all peculiar children experience because so few of us are born to peculiar parents. I can imagine, I said. One day, as far as anyone knew, I was as common as rice pudding, and the next I felt a curious itch in the palms of my hands, and they grew red and swollen, then hot, so hot that I ran to the grocer's and buried them in a case of frozen cod. And when the fish began to thaw and stink, the grocer chased me home again, where he demanded that my mother pay for all I'd ruined. My hands were burning up by this time. The ice had only made it worse. Finally, they caught fire, and I was sure I'd gone stark raving mad. What did your parents think? I said. My mother, who is a deeply superstitious person, ran out of the house and never came back. She thought I was a demon, arrived straight from hell via her womb. The old man took a different approach. He beat me and locked me in my room, and when I tried to burn through the door, he tied me down with asbestos sheets. Kept me like that for days, feeding me once in a while by hand, since he didn't trust me enough to untie me. Which was a good thing for him, because the minute he did, I would have burned him black. I wish you had, I said. That's sweet of you, but it wouldn't have done any good. My parents were horrible people. But if they hadn't been, and if I'd stayed with them much longer, there's no question the Hollows would have found me. I owe my life to two people. My younger sister, Julia, who freed me late one night so that I could finally run away, and Miss Peregrine, who discovered me a month later, working as a fire eater at a traveling circus. Emma smiled wistfully. The day I met her, that's what I call my birthday. The day I met my true mom. My heart melted a little. Thank you for telling me, I said. Hearing Emma's story made me feel closer to her and less alone in my own confusion. Every peculiar had struggled through a period of painful uncertainty. Every peculiar had been tried. The glaring difference between us was that my parents still loved me, and despite the problems I'd had with them, I loved them too, in my own quiet way. The thought that I was hurting them now was a constant ache. What did I owe them? How could it be reckoned against the debt I owed Miss Peregrine, or my obligation to my grandfather, or the sweet, heavy thing I felt for Emma, which seemed to grow stronger every time I looked at her? The scales tipped always toward the latter, but eventually, if I lived through this, I would have to face up to the decision I had made and the pain I had caused. If always propelled my thoughts back to the present, because if depended so much on keeping my wits about me, I couldn't properly sense things if I was distracted. If demanded my full presence and participation in now. If, as much as it scared me, also kept me sane. London approached, villages giving way to towns, giving way to unbroken tracts of suburbia. I wondered what was waiting for us there, what new horrors lay ahead. I glanced at a headline in the newspaper, still open in Emma's lap. Air raids rattle capital, scores dead. I closed my eyes and tried to think of nothing at all. And that is like it. That's all I got. That's all I got. We can, like I said, we can do intermission at the beginning of part 2. But that's it. And I think the surprise is here. But I think, hold on. We're going to see. I'm going to take this phone with me. We're going to go on a short journey. We're going to go on a short journey. I'm going to take y'all with me. Going on a trip. We don't normally go on trips. Yes.
I guess. So,
Hi.
next time I come down, I should be working for myself so I can be here longer than just having to be on other people's schedules. But oh my god,
Tattoo
I'm so
parlor.
excited to be back. Also, Cat Bone and Batty Bat. I was gonna get you other stuff, but my car said fuck you on the way here, and I had to spend all the money that I saved on my car.
You got me something?
These came out of my car. These came out of my car.
You don't have to give me stuff from your car.
But I love you.